Welcome to another episode of Busted Speakers. I'm Alex,
And I'm Cam.
and today we're reviewing the 10th album from Jimmy Eat World, Surviving. Now, unlike Cam here, I believe is a long-time fan of the band.
Yep.
They're a band I've heard of a lot. They're one of those bands that a lot of people talk about. They have a lot of fans. They got really big in the 90s, or more the early 2000s with the Jimmy Eat World album, but their earlier stuff got more famous subsequently. They release a new album every few years and they've never broken up, just kept going strong. They've kept the same lineup almost the whole duration of their existence. And so my experience is I know a few of the big singles, and I mainly, before this album, knew the album Futures, which I just picked up by chance in a used CD store. Didn't know what to expect and just found it to be an excellent rock album, mid-2000s rock album. But yeah, I believe Cam knows the band a lot better than I do.
Yeah, I've been a huge fan of them for years, like at least since middle school, I'd say. Obviously, the first one I heard was The Middle when that was huge, and it was one of those songs that stuck around on pop radio for a few years after its peak came and went. It was like one of the pop punk staples on radio stations near me. And so, of course, from that, I started checking them out more, starting with Bleed American, the album that's from, the one you called Jimmy Eat World. It was renamed after 9/11, understandably so.
Yeah.
And from there, I checked out their next album, Futures, which has worked its way into one of my top 10 albums of all time, along with the album before Bleed American, 1999's emo classic Clarity, another one of my top 10 albums. And
So two of your top 10 albums are from Jimmy Eat World, so safe to say you're quite a big fan.
yep, and I've kept up with everything they put out since. They had Chase This Light, I believe that was '07 or '08, and that one
Yep.
is very good, has a lot of great songs on it. And then they've had three since then, and they've all been weaker. I don't want to say any of them are really bad. I think Invented is probably the weakest of the bunch because it just has the most songs that don't work for me, and only one song that I would consider a Jimmy Eat World classic quality, which is actually true for the other two albums, Damage and Integrity Blues.
Okay, so despite this increasingly or sustained weaker output over the recent years, you were still quite excited for this album.
Yeah, absolutely.
Surviving is a uniformly just really solid rock album. I think that's pretty safe to say. I mean, you can tell this is a band that have been playing together for a long time because they really play well together and everything sounds so succinct and smooth. The production is amazing. The guitar, bass playing, just some of these riffs are crunchy but really well mixed as well. And so many songs to take home here. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's definitely their strongest album since Chase This Light. My big problem with
Yeah.
the last two is that, aside from at least one song each, nothing from them really stood out. They're just very safe albums, and especially Damage. Nothing about that one ever really stood out to me. Integrity Blues, I think, has more personality, but it still doesn't quite have this songwriting. And it also, I think, has a strong unifying theme that none of their albums have really had since maybe Futures.
Well, to me, this album still feels reasonably safe, but despite that, it still felt like really a strong collection of songs, so I didn't really mind that. Obviously, the closer, Congratulations, being 6 minutes plus, I felt like that was a return to some of the longer songs found on Futures.
Yeah, I think it probably stacks up better to a Futures album track than, or like something from the middle of the album than it does to
Yeah,
the closer 23, which is my favorite Jimmy Eat World song.
even though I've been saying it's more straightforward than anything else, and when I say straightforward, I don't mean it in a bad way. Just these songs are just really easy to listen to, and first time I put this on, just the first song, Surviving, those guitars just instantly hooked me in, instantly drew me into the album, and the energy sustained the whole way through, song after song. Like, I was just checking the track list, and even though some of the songs, like these guitar riffs and chords, are so good that they'll be stuck in my head for hours later. Like, not even full songs, just little passages from different songs or even different parts of the same song. They'll just continuously play in my head because the songwriting, you can tell it's a band that have been around for, well, I guess 2+ decades at this point. They know how to write great music at this point.
Yeah, this is definitely the kind of album that's more about just crafting solid songs that they feel they can be proud of. I think more than showing off, more than studio embellishments and things like that. The only song here that you could argue technically brings anything new to the table is the lead single, and even that's arguable. Um, Stay All the Way, because it
Yeah.
has a sax solo, which, unless my memory is failing me, is a first for the band.
And do the band have other songs with, like, well, I don't it's not I don't know if it's really a guest vocalist, but the female vocals, they kind of start as backing vocals to begin with, but towards the end they become almost like a duet. I really like that aspect of the song.
That's definitely a great touch on that song. Like, obviously, with the sax and the general mood and emotion of that song, it definitely feels very Springsteen-y, which is a great look for the band. I was hoping that they would continue more in that direction on some of this album. I have to admit, it was just a bit of a letdown that they didn't, but that doesn't make it a bad album because of that.
No, and then you get a song like 555, which is definitely like the most modern version of the band I could ever think of. Those finger clicks as percussion and like the smooth synth glare that's going on. His delivery, Jim's delivery on this sounds more like Brandon Flowers from the Killers more than Jim at Eat World. I've seen a lot of negative comments on this song, but I actually really like 555 personally.
Yeah, I think it's the song with the most crossover appeal for the album, if that's even what they were going for. But it's also good that they didn't release it as the lead single because it's not even remotely representative of the album.
No, it's just one song, and if it was the lead single, definitely I feel like would make a lot of long-time Jimmy Eat World fans a little bit worried. While I feel like All the Way Stay definitely, well, got people excited again.
Yeah, and they're no strangers to electronic type sounds. They had what was it, 12, 23, 96, or 95, I forget the exact number on Clarity.
Yeah.
And Jim Adkins has like a really obscure side project called Go Big Casino that has some electric elements or electric basis to it. So
So yeah, so it's definitely not a completely foreign idea for the band.
yeah. So the thing that elevates the album for me above the relative simplicity and straightforwardness of the rock music here is that it has, like I said before, it has a unifying mood or theme. Most reviewers seem to be focusing on the fact that Jim Adkins has worked his way into sobriety over the past few years, and they're drawing on that.
Yeah.
For me, I think the bigger takeaway from this album is just the renewed energy that the band has and the new lease on life that I'm sure sobriety has given Jim, but also it's bled out into the rest of the band and the album overall.
Because even though I've not followed them as much at all as you have, you'd be forgiven to think that maybe the band would sound a little bit older, but they don't necessarily sound like just sound like a hungry, energetic band to me.
Yeah, like you definitely get that on what also could be argued is the lead single Love Never, which, just for some random trivia, it was released as, I guess, like a double A side with a song called Half Heart in spring last year.
So that song's been around a little while.
Yeah, everybody thought that they were just going to be non-album singles, and no one expected them to, or either of them to show up here. And Love Never actually is in a slightly different mix from the original release, and that seems to have now supplanted that original release. But it's not like radically different. It's just like some things here and there were tweaked, turned up, turned down, whatever. Yeah, so that song is about. I think that's kind of the thesis statement for the album. It's all about how you need to find something that sparks your passion, something that you want to do just because you want to do it. The big line of the chorus is, do you want the work more than the reward? Which I think
Hmm.
really is going to resonate with their fans who have stuck with them for decades and the current generations, the millennials and Gen Z. So many people these days are trying to, survive on what their passions can provide them. So many freelancers on the internet, so many wannabe YouTubers like Present Company.
Well, I wasn't going to say it, but I guess we'd apply to that.
Yeah. So and that also comes up on other songs, I believe. Like that's also what the title track is about,
Yeah.
and in a way, song delivery has some of that, and you could read into "All the Way Stay." It's a definite undercurrent. Oh,
It's cool that you look at other reviews and look at the underlying themes for albums like this.
yeah, that sort of thing. Aside from like people drawing to the alcoholism, that sort of thing is just it just came through from listening to the album. The song Diamond might actually be a good barometer for whether or not people are going to like the album because it's a very traditionally written song. The first chorus is only like 2 lines, and then the second chorus is, I think, goes up to 4 lines, or maybe it just repeats the first two again. And then when they get back to the chorus later in the song, then they stretch it out even more, and I think they turn it up a key. It's just very old timey rock songwriting, and that kind
Yeah.
of traditionalism might turn people off, might seem a little too easy, a little too obvious, but if the theme of the song and the theme of the album works for you, then probably not going to mind because it just feels like affirmation of everything that's already come before it.
Yeah, that song I didn't initially click with me. The thing is, even though this album instantly hooked me in with the first couple of songs, I was under the impression this album was more front loaded than anything else because I really like this first four songs and All the Way Stay. 1 Mil was a little bit hard to get into because of the change up of it being acoustic, almost like an acoustic Weezer sounding type thing, especially in the vocals. And then Diamond and Love Never, those two, I like them a lot now, but first few listens, I think this is just a natural conclusion I get when listening to albums. The stuff at the end takes longer for me to click with. But then again, the song Recommit, instantly liked it. Don't know what exactly, it just felt like a really excellently formed song, Recommit. So I'd say this album, especially in the back half, is a bit of a grower, but I feel like a lot of these songs would work well on their own. Like when I was listening to Diamond on its own, really grew to like it.
Yeah, I feel like this is an album that they wrote to play well in concert. I can imagine all these songs being big crowd pleasers.
Yeah, because they've all got long instrumental intros where the crowd can get pumped at hearing like the opening chords just before they start getting into them. Okay, for my rating, I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. Perfectly solid, strong record. I feel like I'd recommend this to people even if they're not fans of Jimmy Eat World. Like, just want a really good album with instantly catchy songs. This would be one I'd definitely recommend to people.
I will also give this a 7. It's a great return to form for the band. It shows a lot of potential for hopefully a long and fruitful new chapter in their career. And honestly, I might bump it up to an 8 eventually. Just because a lot of these songs are kind of what I need to hear, and I can definitely imagine them resonating with a lot of other people my age. So I think that there's a lot of value for this album in the long run.
Okay, I think that does us. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Us the Speakers. Catch you guys later.